Will Ospreay down first. Technically, he was officially signed, I think, towards the latter part of 2023, November 2003, sometime around then, because finishing up his obligations, excuse me, in New Japan and officially made his debut in AEW in 2024. And as a whole, I think, of course, he's had a couple title wins already, right? Two-time international champion, which is kind of crazy to think he's already won the title twice. But I think as a whole with him, the way they brought him in, especially to kind of in a way they hit the ground running with him, and it, in my opinion, it looked like they were going to set him up to be the new potential face of AEW, and definitely a main eventer. That was obvious coming into it, right? But a lot, one of the knocks of the AEW, right, is getting hot on someone and then they kind of disappear for a few months, which we'll be getting to a couple people here on the list who have kind of fallen into that bucket. But with Ospreay, it didn't. He wasn't in that area yet. He came in and I think there was like maybe a week or two where he wouldn't be on TV, but you do have to take into account the traveling that he's doing as well. So I was really impressed with how he came in and like I said, kind of hit the ground running, and how they presented him and just the way he really connected with the fans too. I, to be fair and to be completely honest, I not that I was concerned that he wouldn't be able to connect, but again, he especially coming and being in a completely new territory, if you want to kind of call it that, in the North America, you know, the American side of things, American television, week to week television, right? Having to, and again, not that he was on week to week, but he was on a fairly good amount, especially compared to others. And the way he handled it and the way his character really progressed and the way he grew on the mic, in my opinion. Yes, there were a few of those promos and those moments where like the one where he called out Triple H, when Triple H had referenced like, you know, people weren't on the grind, or if you're not willing to be on the grind, then we don't want you here, or whatever that whole bumbo was. And I, even at that point, I had said like, yeah, maybe Triple H was indirectly talking about Ospreay, but I don't think he was talking specific, you know, just solely about Ospreay when he made those comments. So that was just kind of odd, like how personally, in my opinion, Ospreay had taken it. And again, if it was directly targeted to him, then touche, you know, like definitely have your right to be upset about that. But I think he kind of took that a little bit more to heart than maybe was necessary or maybe even intended, in my opinion. That's just me being a third party. But yeah, so he hasn't been completely, you know, 100% and hot on the mic, but I think a mixture of that, and again, just seeing his progression and how he has just really been embraced in regardless of the city, right? It didn't have to be just a Chicago, a Boston, one of those main cities that you expect your diehard, especially AEW, your diehard wrestling fans to be in, and to know the whole story of Ospreay and to know even much more of Ospreay's history than someone like I do. But he just grew, you know, and it doesn't matter if they were in like a Kansas or in Ohio or anywhere like that. He got a great reaction, and that really stood out to me to the point where I was really I don't know if that was my official prediction, I can't remember, but I really thought that he excuse me was going to beat Swerve and become the AEW champion, and I'm very happy that they didn't. There was reports out there that he was against it. He wanted Swerve to he did essentially not bigfooting in that sense, but he didn't want to necessarily come in there and kind of just like steal the shine and kind of not take over again, because that sounds very harsh, those phrases, but just kind of essentially just take that spot, and I respect that again as well. Now, if that's 100% true or not, even if it's just a little bit true, I respect Osprey for that, and I personally have become more and more of a fan of him. I appreciate how open he is, with struggles that he goes through and like personal things that he goes through. I believe he said he's like on the spectrum or something, or he has been diagnosed with autism or something to that effect. But he's been very open about like stuff that he deals with and just like different disabilities that he has. So yeah, I appreciate that. So long story short, with Osprey, I give him a B. I give him a B. I was tempted to give him an A, but the only reason I did not give him an A is because, and again, the grading scale is as a whole, not just them. Well, them as a character, right? But their booking as well and their presentation on TV, because that obviously plays a lot into it. Yes, it's out of, for instance, like Ospreay's control, but it still plays into my investment in them as a fan, right? And if I'm not seeing them on TV weekly or even bi-weekly, or if they're not being presented in a certain spotlight, when I do see them on TV, then how emotionally invested can I be, right? So I say a B for Ospreay, just because I think going into 2025, I think it's really going to pick up with him, and I think, and again, if you've listened to me in the past, I think he's up there in my original pick was Hangman to be the one to dethrone Moxley, but with seeing how invested Hangman has been lately in the title picture already, it'd be kind of weird for them to then go to a singles match with just him and Moxley and have Hangman beat Moxley for the title. So I think, especially with that little seed that they dropped into Ospreay about him, about needing Ospreay to help defend AEW. Again, not going to get into that whole BS part of what the storyline is even about. But if we do need a savior, right? If AEW does need a savior, I like that they started planting the seeds with Ospreay. He was straight up. He's like, I need to focus on this tournament for the Continental Classic. I like the struggle that he's going through. I'm not a fan of how much he's been losing. But again, I'm trying to hold out on this one and view it as kind of like the Danielson route. Again, I still think Danielson lost way too much on his title run, or not his title run, but his road to becoming the champion in AEW. But Ospreay is like Danielson in the sense that he can kind of take those L's, and it's getting close to that point, in my opinion, especially if he is going to be the one to lead AEW into the promised land, right? And all that BS. But yeah, so that's why I give him a B, just because he's not the main focal point in AEW right now. He's not in the title picture right now. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I like the journey that we're on with him right now, and I think 2025 he'll potentially slide up into that A spot. But yeah, I think probably even like a B plus for real. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at right now with Ospreay. But again, obviously the sky's the limit with that dude. He's incredible, and just the stuff that he does in any opponent, right? His match with Darby Allin, his match with obviously Ricochet, right? But it's just the dynamic and like the diversity of opponents that he can go through and still have a kick-ass match is just incredible to me. So shout out to that dude. And again, it's a real treat that he's in AEW. I still hope we get him in WWE in the future, because I would love to see what the minds over in WWE could do with him and him being in that spotlight. Just seeing how, as cliche as this is, right? But how much of a superstar he can really be, in the sense that, not in the WWE sense, but just like transcending wrestling. Because I really think that, man, like, is he gonna be like a movie star? Maybe not anything like that, but in like video games and stuff like that, like maybe like action. Like I could see this dude as like an act, maybe in movies, like a superhero and like an action hero type thing. Like if they make an Assassin's Creed movie, obviously, or anything of that type of vibe. And maybe they already have. I don't know. I'm not I'm not as into like superhero movies as I used to be, but and all that, like DC and all that stuff. But man, like that dude, it just has like a comic book superhero like script and role like all over him, written all over him. So I'm putting that into the universe for my guy Will. Putting that into the universe for him for sure. Because if not, then like I don't know what we're doing, because he's pretty much like a stuntman, you know what I mean? Like, and so shout out to him.